Hi, my name is Soda, and you're listening to Heart to Heartland, a fan podcast from a fan perspective. Welcome back to the podcast. Before I go into your comments, I just want to remind you that if you want to participate and have your comment possibly featured on the podcast episode, you should go to H2HL Podcast on Instagram and comment under the post I make about each episode. For now, the account has set to private because I had a lot of fake accounts following. So if you seem like a real account, I will for sure accept you as a follower. So don't be discouraged by that. So let's get into your comments. Smoking Holster said, "To me, not the best episode, but very Heartland. It's a personal thing, I guess. Well, I was wrong about Crazy. I thought she was going to use that grain to either bait wolves or get Lou to do something stupid. Instead, I'm glad Nathan stopped it before it happened, and I'm glad Lou never sent that email. Truth is, I'm tired of her accidents. How she could consider not talking to Nathan before sending that email is beyond me. As to hiring a hand, I actually don't see the point. Jack's still a young guy and he can easily do both his and Tim's jobs, so what would be the point? Hands are expensive and all that. It was interesting to see his reaction to Champs being settled by someone other than Tim. Jack and Tim are like an old married couple. It's so nice to see Lisa so much a part of the show. I have a feeling that Jessica is there with a bigger or more regular role to make up for Chris being gone from the season. Glad Katie and River got together and made peace. It'll be interesting watching this part of the show play out. I wonder if she's actually a cellist. I love the cello. I'm sorry Lindley lost the 4-H competition, and I'm sure she'll come to grips with Nathan and Amy's relationship. Hopefully, it'll be sooner than later. She seemed to be happy that Nathan's around, and I hope she turns around soon. I wonder if Jack or Lisa will be part of that. That'll be interesting to watch. Secrets on the show just all blow out of proportion. Anyways, the Spencer twins are really stepping up. Love that. As to Nathan Sr., that was pretty much pure Heartland. I actually thought Nathan broke his arm and was glad it was just a black eye. I think Crazy saw Amy differently by the end of the episode, and from the behind-the-scenes stuff, it seems that she'll be working with the Heartland crew to get by. I really think she doesn't want to hurt Nathan or the ranch, and I hope this part of the story is over. We'll see what happens to Rowdy in upcoming episodes. I love the kiss at the end. They really need a lot more of that. I too love that Lisa is more involved because she is such a underutilized character. She can do so much as we have seen in these last 2 episodes. So it's really nice to see that she's just doing what everyone else is doing and just interacting with other characters and being so present and supporting and everything. I've always really loved that she's so involved with Katie, and this episode was no exception. I literally, when I saw the scene with them practicing the flag thing, I literally went, yes, because I was so happy to see that Lisa was being part of Katie's training because why not? Like, sure, Amy knows how to do a lot of horse stuff, but so does Lisa. And even Jack or Lou, like, they've all been riding for years, so it's really nice to see that it's not just kind of Amy's thing, because it really isn't. As for the stuff with River, it was pretty basic Heartland kind of introduction between 2 female characters. Like, it reminded me of Ashley and Olivia a bit. It's kind of like two parts rubbing against each other and creating this friction. And then in the end, it's actually fine. But I did like this better, maybe than those two relationships, because it seemed like it really came together really fast. Like they were able to overcome their prejudices and just sort of see how amazing the other was. And I'm really looking forward to seeing more of them and how this relationship will evolve this season. I really hope that River is someone who sticks around, because I'm kind of tired of these characters not really having long-term friendships, because Katie had Parker, but then Parker is no longer in the picture, and then she had her biker friends, but now they're not here, so it really makes the development kind of fragmented, because long friendships are something that really can make a big difference at that age. So I'm hoping that this is something that helps give Katie her community. Then HL Horses said, another good episode. I enjoyed all of the storylines, and seems like the time jump is 6 to 7 months from last season, so spring, early summer. There was actually more storylines happening in this episode than I originally thought. First, the ranch hand surge, classic Jack not wanting help, but this time it stems from not wanting to replace Tim rather than stubborn Bride. Jack really misses Tim. They've come so far, and I really enjoyed that, and him not wanting anyone to ride Champ. That guy in that scene also really looked like Tim at first, which I'm sure they did on purpose. I also appreciate Lisa offering to help, because we know she can, we just never see it. Also, I feel like it's been forever since we had Lisa in the first 2 episodes. For the Grain storyline, thought that was going to be a bigger part of the season, making Lou out to be the bad guy again, but at least this time she acknowledges she shouldn't snoop, even though she does proceed to snoop. Glad she did ask Nathan first before talking to the stores. I do feel for the situation Price Ranch is in with trying to compete with Heartland and keep the ranch afloat, while also having to pay for the senior living home. I felt Crazy's desperation in that last scene. Still loving Lou and Crazy's scenes. The Nathan Sr. part of this episode was so sad. Seeing how much he's deteriorated made me so depressed. I really like Amy and Crazy's scene at the home. Classic Heartland moment bringing Nathan Sr. to the ranch and having him ride. It takes a lot to get me, but that whole scene got me, with Nathan Sr. smiling really big, Crazy smiling and laughing and happy he called her Crazy Girl, and Nathan Sr. giving his blessing to Sel. Such a good moment overall. Katie's storyline was super interesting. I thought River was going to be Katie's enemy the whole season, but so glad it's not looking that way. I really enjoyed the scenes with her and River, especially the last one at Maggie's when they both apologized. I hope River and Katie can become good friends. It also seems like the Flag team are actually a good group of people at this point. Glad Katie found something horse-like to do without it being too serious. I was so happy when we saw Katie and Lisa hanging out together. Finally, some godmother-goddaughter bonding. Love seeing Lisa watch her practice with Dodger and give pointers and advice. Katie apologizing to Lisa later was nice too. There was also an Amy and Katie scene which we never get, so that was nice. The Nathan, Amy, and Lindy storyline was pretty good, and I appreciate them tackling this. Glad they finally got that family dinner. Lindy and Nathan are pretty cute before Lindy finds out. Nathan's reaction when she invites him to her show is so wholesome. The 4-H thing is such a good choice for a storyline for Lindy. They really look like a family at points in this episode. The scene where Amy tells Lindy was so good. We all knew Lindy was going to find out on accident. I know I've said this before, but I appreciate that when Nathan wasn't happy with Amy for keeping a secret from him, he didn't yell or insult her. He just calmly stated his side of things to let her know he wasn't happy. Such a breath of fresh air. Their conversation in the last scene was really good too. Nathan has some cute lines, and I appreciate how understanding he is. I'm also glad the Lindy thing isn't resolved yet. I feel like their portrayal of Lindy finding out is pretty accurate for her age. Honorable mentions. That kiss at the end sort of reminded me of the Lou and Mitch kiss from season 11. 7:30 dinner time is crazy. And when Nathan says legendary family dinner, I feel like that's all the fans' opinion. Really looking forward to next week. I totally agree about the Nathan Sr. scene with Rowdy. It was like really classic Heartland scene, definitely something we've kind of seen before. But I was surprised that it affected me the way it did. And I think a lot of it has to do with the acting. I think Brent State, who plays Nathan Sr., did a great job. And then seeing the atmosphere hovering around, the tension between Nathan and Gracie, but then them having to work together to support their dad created interesting layer to the whole thing. And then when Gracie was like, "You called me crazy girl," and Nathan probably was like, "You know what? We're all people here. I know I'm mad, but we're all going through something difficult and we're trying to navigate this the best we can." And I really like that combination and how they were able to create that mixture of emotions, because it really got to me, even though it's kind of like a basic scene, but I think the performances really made it work so well. And as for the Jack Ranchan stuff, at first I was kind of, oh no, it's Jack being difficult again, because he was like, the guy was too nice. But then as the other guy was there and he looked like Tim, I was like, oh, I see where this is coming from. And especially because that guy really looked like Tim, I think maybe it was even Chris's stunt double, or they used Tim's wardrobe or something like that. They really nailed the look. And I think in that moment, it kind of hit Jack and the audience that he really misses Tim, because the other guy was too nice, and we know that Tim is definitely not too nice. And I think Jack kind of likes that challenge. It keeps things interesting. And I really hope that even though it's kind of a simple storyline, they would continue with that, because Tim has been his partner for years, even before we got to officially meet them. And they've had their ups and downs, but they've always still been there for each other through thick and thin. And I think being apart this long must be different, at least, if not difficult. And so I hope they do storyline showing that, because we've seen these sweet little moments here and there, like them appreciating each other. But I think they could really do something special with this, honor Tim even though he's not there, by showing how much Jack misses him. And I also think, because we kind of know that he's going to hire this young kid who has problems based on the trailer, and he's going to be the new ranch hand, that is it makes sense. Jack likes to have this project to work on. I think at first it was Tim, then, Ty, maybe a little bit Logan, even not that heavily, because I think he was still kind of dealing with losing Ty and all that. But then this new kid, Dax, will probably give him that project-like thing to focus on, instead of being, I don't know, bored. Yeah, but I'm hoping they do something with that, because I don't know, Jack and Tim are kind of my soft spot, so I would love to see something like that. Then Tim Heartland said, "The episode wasn't great, at least not from my point of view. But I like Lou in this episode. She was mature and considerate. I liked Gracie's interaction with her dad, and liked it when they brought Nathan Sr. to Heartland and he looked so happy riding his horse. Was very disappointed in Amy most of the episode, and Lindy, Little Miss Attitude, was almost like a young Georgie. Lisa was great support and guidance for Katie and for Jack, who was a crump most times. Jack misses Tim, and he's not the only one. I miss him too. And he cannot see anyone riding Jamp other than his ex-son-in-law. The dinner scene was short and boring for my liking. There was no Tim to spice things up. I liked how honest and understanding Nathan was after all the lying from Amy's part. He's all in, and Amy still hesitates. Also liked how Katie came through by the end of the episode and finally made the team. She had guts admitting when she was wrong and when she judged River prematurely. She's becoming my favorite character. Faye is doing a great job, and I hope she wins Best Supporting Actress. I hope so too. By the way, did you guys notice that Michelle Morgan was credited as associate producer? I thought that was really nice, and it's nice to see that she's spreading her wings even more. Lou was really good in this episode too, I feel like. She's usually the one dealing with secrets, whether it's keeping secrets or snooping around, spilling secrets, all that. So I was really interested to see how she would deal with the crane issue. And I think she did good. I did like how she has come to sort of realize who she has been and who she could be, especially the scene with Nathan where he's like, are you going to tell? And she's like, some time ago I might have. And even though she was planning on telling and the urge to do the right thing was eating her from the inside, she still stopped and thought about it and talked to Amy. And even though it seemed like she was going to do the wrong thing, I did appreciate the way she handled things because changing takes time. And I think she's definitely taking the right steps and she should be applauded for that. But not going to lie, I was worried that the email would accidentally send and it would once again make Lou as someone who can't really grow because they need to use her to stir the pot or make other things possible by making it overly traumatic and all that. But thankfully, it didn't seem like that happened. So, whew. BCO Felice said, another great episode. Nice hook by Amy to draw Nathan in for a kiss. A bonus. Was afraid that Lindy will find out and react the way she did. Rightfully so. Amy was caught in the middle between Nathan and Lindy. Amy should have spoken up. Feelings matter, but truth is the best way as not to cause chaos. Lou didn't fight too hard to walk away in the barn. So glad she listened to Amy and talked with Nathan first before sending that email. Katie and Dodger scored points. Katie has come on her own to be who she wants to be. Yes, a flag girl. Got misty-eyed when Nathan Price Sr. writing Rowdy at Heartland. That is what you do to ease Alzheimer's patients' anger and frustration slip away momentarily. It worked for Nathan Sr. I'm anxious to see the scene with the horse on the elevator to see Nathan Sr. at the facility. Amy and Nathan communicated well, talking it out about their relationship. Amy and Nathan made up at the end with a kiss. I'm sure some fans will say, oh, this is messy, and Amy's always keeping secrets, and Nathan is too, I don't know, like pressuring and whatever. To me, it's like this is something they have to go through in order to get to the other side, because being together, there are challenges to it because of past things that have happened. Not just between their families, but to these people involved in that relationship. So I'm glad they're not shying away from that because it's really important to have those conversations and go through those moments and really make the relationship stronger through that. And even though there are difficult situations, even though Amy kept secrets and Nathan has some frustrations, maybe, like, I can still see that this is a relationship that will be different than a lot of the relationships in this show so far have been. And it really is evident when you look at the last scene of this episode where Nathan and Amy talk it through and reach an understanding, and it's all lovely and nice. And I really appreciate that because while they're like those classic Heartland things, if you would have just talked about this right away, kind of plot lines, they may stumble, but then in the end, they come together. And I think Amy and Nathan are really dealing with these hard topics in a way that it's mature and makes them tighter and stronger And I really like that. I think that's something that's lacking from a lot of shows. And I've seen a lot of people say, oh, Nathan is boring and all that. But to me, it's kind of like if Nathan is boring, it means that it's healthy or at least healthier. The relationship, because love is not supposed to be like really hard. And I think some people have difficulty understanding that because usually on TV shows, movies, relationships are always really messy and dramatic and hurtful and this angst and all that. And yeah, sure, those make good stories. But I think after everything Amy has gone through, all the trauma, all the loss, all the struggles, everything, like she deserves a little more stability. And I think Nathan is someone who can offer that. So, what some consider boring, I consider stable, safe, mature. And I think that's exactly what Amy needs after everything she's been through. And I think Nathan is someone who provides that. And I hope that someday people are able to look back and see what they consider to be boring is actually what every person should kind of try and find for themselves in their lives. For me, that has really changed the atmosphere in the show. Like, I've always loved the show. But I've noticed I'm really looking forward to seeing the different dynamics now more because there's new sort of maturity in this show, something that I've been hoping to see all these years. So while it may seem a little bit boring to some people, like to me, this is what I've been after. And I think this will be a really good season for Amy and Nathan. And I'm glad we get to see Amy's struggles more this season compared to past season because I talked about that a little bit. I felt like last year was a big journey for Nathan, but we didn't really get to see what Amy was going through in the sense of her having this new relationship because most of her screen time was between her family and Nathan. And so she didn't really have time to reflect and feel things. She just kind of was caught in the middle. And I felt really bad about that because she's in this relationship too. But I feel like this season we get to see more of that. And it should be interesting to see what's going on inside her head and what kind of things have emerged through this process of developing feelings for Nathan and having this relationship with him. She has been more open than I expected initially. So, and few words about Lindy before I move on to the next comment, but I'm really glad they're taking this storyline down this road because it is something that happens in real life. And I think it's natural for Lindy to feel all these things and express her emotions and maybe behave a little bit badly. I saw some comments where people were saying like, oh, Lindy should just get over it and whatever. And it's like, she's 8. She's a child. And it's funny that some people hold her to a higher standard than some of the adult men on the show. So, yep, that's all I'm going to say about that. But I'm glad that they are really exploring this storyline properly and building a stronger foundation for this little family. Then Sharon said, a lot in this episode. Love seeing Lisa on the ranch, and she sure knows how to handle Jack. Seriously, Jack? First ranch hand, too polite, and the second looks like Tim. Now we know he hires a kid. Is this him doing a Marion, looking out for wayward youth? Katie got her back up with River judging her, but she did the same to River. And in Heartland fashion, they sorted it out. Katie being rude to Lisa, just like Georgie, but unlike Georgie, she apologized. Had to laugh at Lou trying to talk herself out of snooping. Didn't work, lol. Lou talking to Nathan was the right thing to do. Most times Lou does the right thing. She sometimes goes about it the wrong way. Was hard to watch Nathan Sr. upset. Never asked, do you remember? Be in their present. It was a nice touch having him rowdy. I still don't trust Gracie. How would she have fed the cattle without Nathan knowing? He does work with the cattle. Gracie having a change of heart. Rowdy is the only time she's not being sarcastic or evading answers when confronted by Nathan. Is Lindy angry because of the secret or having to share Amy? Nathan calling Amy out. Now, who's not being open and honest? A mature conversation between them was right, and Amy being honest that she is apprehensive about opening up to anyone about her true feelings for Nathan will continue into the next couple of episodes. Love the leg hook by Amy. Girl has moves. LOL. Wanting more time with Amy and Lindy lets Amy know that he is committed to their relationship. Sealed with a kiss. Next week will be interesting. I really enjoy Crazy's character. I was afraid that she would be sort of caricature of a villain, but I don't think she is. Not so far, at least. I think it's nice that she has a vision and she is determined and confident, and she has that feel that she belongs to this show. I really appreciated seeing other emotions from her as well, because it really is a reminder that we're all really complex. And even though we seem a little harsh sometimes, or maybe even cold, then maybe it's like a front to something hurtful we're dealing with. And I'm really impressed the way Spencer, who plays Nathan, and Krista, who plays Crazy, have been able to build this sibling relationship, because they haven't really known each other that far. Yet it feels like there's this real sibling-like relationship going on. And I really enjoy seeing their performances and how they play together, because they're both really good actors. And I feel like Heartland has been really good with catching these talented cast members to the show who help expand the story and make it feel authentic, because this is kind of a step away from the Heartland Ranch, yet it feels connected to the rest of the stories. And I'm really glad that Nathan has this opportunity to show this side of his life on screen, because if he didn't, it would feel kind of one-sided when it comes to his role in the show and just having to kind of deal with the Heartland family instead of having his own relationship and his own life outside the relationship with Amy or the Bartlett Fleming family. I don't know if I'm just paranoid about Crazy or if I'm traumatized by the show because it keeps doing these gimmicks. But for some reason, I feel like when Crazy said that she didn't feed any of those grains to the cattle, that she may have lied. Maybe she didn't feed them that much, but maybe some of it got in and she just thought, okay, well, Nathan is angry, and the only way I'm gonna make this go away is to apologize and be like, yeah, I didn't do it, and he'll be okay. But we'll see. Then Lisa Forever said, just a few thoughts. Looks like they picked Chris's stunt double for the ranch hand Tim lookalike who wanted to ride Jamp. I really love that Jack seems to miss Tim, and Lisa's message to all of us that nobody wants to replace Tim. Yeah, and Chris was at Comic-Con. I don't remember the city from the top of my head. It looks a little promising, so I'm going to cling on to that, and hopefully by the next season we will have our Tim back. Thanks again for all your comments. I mean, honestly, I really appreciate them, because, yeah, sure, I could talk about my own thoughts around these episodes, but it wouldn't be as fun because it's just my take on it. So I really appreciate you all bringing forth your reactions and thoughts, because it really adds to the whole podcast. Wow, tomorrow we have another new Heartland episode, and it is called Ghosts. When Amy returns to Bike River with Nathan to work with search and rescue horses, she's confronted with memories of Ty. While Lou and Crazy track down a wolf, Jack finds his new ranch hand. And I really can't wait to see that episode. It sounds like they're really gonna dig deep, and it's gonna really benefit the rest of the season. But we're gonna talk about that next week. So I hope to see you here then. Until then, keep your noses clean and your powder dry, as they say. Bye.